Hello and welcome to the State of 911 webinar series hosted by NHTSA's National 911 Program. My name is Brian Tegmeyer, the National 911 Program Coordinator at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's Office of EMS. In today's session, you will hear from the Florida Department of Transportation and Marion Public Safety Communications about how collaboration between 911 traffic management centers and emergency response partners can strengthen incident response, improve roadway safety, and enhance outcomes for both patients and responders. You will hear real-world examples that demonstrate how integrating operations and coordinating communications between the 911 centers and the traffic management centers, or TMCs, enhance crash response and traffic incident management. This webinar series is designed to provide useful information for the 911 stakeholder community about federal, state, and local participation in the planning, design, and advancement of 911. It includes real-world experiences from leaders utilizing these processes throughout the country. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on 911.gov. To access previous recordings or learn about NHTSA's National 911 Program State of Webinar Series, please visit 911.gov. The National 911 Program would like to remind you about the Docs and Tools section on 911.gov. This is a valuable, extensive collection of policy documents, plans, and reports covering a wide range of 911 related topics. These resources are for 911 professionals, built by 911 professionals. You may access this webpage under the Resources drop-down menu or scan the QR code in the bottom right corner of this slide. If you or anyone you know have resources that have been helpful to you at any stage in your career, I would encourage you to submit them to the Share with 911 community at large. Content can be submitted by completing the online submission form on the top right side of the Docs and Tools page. We would also like to invite you to visit the 911 Telecommunicator Tree of Life and share the name of a remarkable 911 telecommunicator who has inspired you. In collaboration with 911 organizations nationwide, the 911 Telecommunicator Tree of Life continues to grow with every story, honoring a special 911 telecommunicator and 911 center who is making a difference in your community. Share your story and download a commemorative certificate at the 911treeoflife.org. Please note that all participants' access have been put in listen-only mode. To ask questions of our presenters, feel free to submit a question through Zoom's Q&A tool located at the bottom of your screen. Hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen of the Zoom screen to access meeting controls. You can enter your question at any time during the presentation and it'll be entered into queue. We will answer those questions at the conclusion of the presentation, and if we're unable to answer them, we will get back to you. A recording of today's webinar and accompanying materials will be provided through our GovDelivery email platform, posted on 911.gov and posted on 911.gov in the coming weeks. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today's webinar. We're honored to have Lauren Pearson, Garrett Popovich, and Mike Hudson from the Florida Department of Transportation, District 5, and they will be joined by Lisa Cahill, the Director of Public Safety Communications at Marion County, Florida. All right, take it away.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Brian. We appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak with all of you this morning. I'm Lauren Pearson, and I'm the RTMC manager for the Central Florida area, collectively known as District 5, and I manage the facility and operations for our combined communications centers. With the desire to share data with partners, a facility was needed to collect and store the data. And that's why the D5, why the FDOT D5 group within traffic operations built the RTMC. The RTMC is the Regional Transportation Management Center, which is approximately 45,000 state-of-the-art square foot building that is here in Central Florida, and you'll learn more about that this morning. We are co-located with FHP, which is the Florida Highway Patrol, as well as FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And we do share a operations floor, and we are staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all 365 days of the year, just like your normal or typical dispatch centers. At the RTMC/SRCC, which is what our partners collectively call the Sanford Regional Communications Center. You'll see in that photo of the operations floor. That is the heart of our building, with staff offices and conference spaces around the perimeter not pictured. But on that operations floor, everything that you see on the left-hand side, the 4 pieces of pie, those are going to be our FDOT operations walls. And they have our video walls on them that you'll get to see in a video just shortly. And everything that you see on the right is going to be our dispatch pods. At our facility, we have 2 diesel generators that are meant to support the building for 14 days without requiring refueling in the event of an emergency. And we also have battery backups on site. And we have a large internal and external server space. So we actually have server space on the secured side that is accessible for our DOT staff and for our data collection efforts. And then we have one that is external for our partners to be able to access and utilize, so that they do not interfere with the inner workings of our large server room. We also have several training and conference rooms. We have a research lab. And as I mentioned, we have 4 large video walls, which house 90 screens. And then FWC and FHP have a smaller video wall on their side where we could actually drop video and content for them when an active event is occurring. With the desire to share data with partners, we wanted a location where we could collect and store the data. And what we do is collectively referred to as TSM&O. TSM&O is another way of saying Transportation Systems Management and Operations, and it's basically the engineering discipline that focuses on ways to reduce congestion and improve safety without building more roads. I think we all understand that you can't just build a new road everywhere, so we actually look at ways that we could incorporate technology and new innovative resources to improve or maintain and reduce congestion, and improve safety as well. As I mentioned, we have staff who monitor events, traffic events, whether it's a crash, a construction event, debris, even police activity, and they're here monitoring those events 24 hours a day. I'm going to go ahead and transition to a video that will talk a little bit more about the work that we're doing. And after that, my partner, Gary Popovich, is going to talk to you a little bit more about the inner workings of our district.
The Florida Department of Transportation's District 5 keeps Central Florida moving with a focus on traffic efficiency, safety, and connectivity for residents and visitors. Encompassing 9 counties, FDOT District 5 is a fast-growing intersection of bustling commerce, world-renowned tourism and environmental treasures, beaches, parks, and springs that offer an exemplary quality of life. We are proud to work with our communities in the heart of Central Florida to provide a comprehensive multimodal transportation system of 1,883 bridges and 2,130 centerline miles on our state highway system, with sidewalks, bicycle facilities, and transit operating on them. We serve 4.6 million residents and millions of visitors who travel 136 million miles daily over our nearly 9,000 square miles. With more than 1,000 miles of trails and sidewalks for pedestrians and bicyclists, we are committed to serving all users. We partner with 5 metropolitan and transportation planning organizations: Lake Sumter MPO, Metro Plan Orlando, Ocala Marion TPO, River to Sea TPO, and Space Coast TPO, to deliver the region's needs. Keystones of our transportation network include Interstate 4, Interstate 95, Interstate 75, and Wekiva Parkway, the final connection to complete the Beltway around Central Florida, providing travelers more routes throughout the region. We offer travelers choices with I-4 Express and Sunrail, Central Florida's commuter rail service. District 5 partners with Lynx, one of the 3 transit authorities in the state, plus 6 other transit agencies: Flagler County Public Transportation, Lake Express, Space Coast Area Transit, Sumter County Transit, SunTran, and Votran. We are home to freight and passenger rail, a deep water port, Port Canaveral, 4 international airports and 21 general aviation airports, and Florida's premier spaceport launching more and more rockets each year. We are the future of Florida, where history is made and a robust transportation system is essential. We are guided by the FDOT compass, where communities are at the heart of everything we do. Safety is our top priority. Our Target Zero initiative works to reduce the number of crash fatalities and serious injuries to 0. Our district is committed to ensuring resiliency and maintaining a robust supply chain, while utilizing technology and developing a strong transportation workforce. Headquartered in DeLand, FDOT District 5 works out of 6 operation centers across Central Florida, facilitating maintenance, transportation operations, and construction projects for one of the fastest-growing areas of the state. We monitor roadway conditions for safety and efficiency from the state-of-the-art Regional Transportation Management Center. Located adjacent to I-4 in Sanford, more than 100 traffic managers use hundreds of highway camera feeds, thousands of live data streams from roadway sensors, and ongoing communications with first responders to keep traffic moving and to protect Central Florida drivers. The core of every decision we make is grounded in FDOT's vision, where we serve the people of Florida by providing a transportation network that is well-planned, supports economic growth, and has the goal of being congestion and fatality-free. FDOT District 5's vital work ensures our transportation system sets the stage for the region's success, now and in the future. Everyone who lives and visits Central Florida is a part of this goal, this mission we're undertaking. By paving the way and connecting communities, we're keeping Central Florida moving.
So that video does a good job of explaining kind of what District 5 is and how we are centrally located in Florida. So you can see we have multiple interstates, toll routes throughout our district. Our district is very dynamic and diverse. We have everything from major tourism in central Orange County, Osceola County, to the horse farm capital of the world out in Marion County, to the Daytona 500 and large tourism in Volusia County, to the spaceport in Brevard County. With being such a diverse district, our district has the responsibility of integrating and coordinating with all of our first responders located in our region. We have over 90 first responders from city, county, state, and federal that oversee or overlap our organizational boundaries. Within those 90 first responders, we deal with 4 separate FHP or Florida Highway Patrol troops. We deal with 3 different state regional communication centers, and we have over 31 PSAPs in our district. When we talk about the goals of FDOT District 5, one of the things that we started early on is trying to integrate and share data with those 31 PSAPs. I'm sure all of you can imagine all 31 PSAPs don't have the same CAD system. They all don't have the same phone system. Their funding and networking schemes and communication abilities all vary. And we wanted to really push the idea of not letting that be a hindrance, but instead finding solutions for our different agencies. The next video is going to talk about some of the pieces of technology that we have in our district that we have begun to share with our PSAPs in a more efficient manner.
This is the Regional Transportation Management Center. This state-of-the-art facility is the nerve center for transportation management in 9 Central Florida counties. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, operators at the RTMC monitor traffic conditions on 795 miles of freeways and state roads. Live feeds from hundreds of traffic cameras and data sensors provide information on traffic flow, average speeds, travel times, and incidents. If a crash occurs, the RTMC operators work to minimize congestion and secondary crashes by quickly dispatching road rangers and communicating with police, firefighters, and medical responders. When there is an incident on a major roadway, drivers may detour to arterial roads. The RTMC operators have the ability to adjust traffic signal timing, keeping the traffic lights green longer to help facilitate the increased volume of traffic. Using the latest technology, monitoring the roadways, keeping drivers informed. This is how the Regional Transportation Management Center is making our roadways as efficient as possible.
And not only efficient, the goal is to share the data that we take in to our outside entities, such as our PSAPs, our fire, police. It's really important that we're able to share the technology that we have, that we've invested in, and allow that to ultimately be provided to those agencies in an effort to save lives. So one of the things that we have done in our district is we have a TSM&O program, or Transportation Systems Management and Operations program. The goal, like Lauren talked about, we understand that we can't build ourselves out of congestion, and we need to use technology to improve the ability to reduce crashes and reduce congestion. However, the other aspect of TSM&O that's really important is understanding that incidents are going to happen. We understand that crashes will occur, and we want to be able to use some of this TSM&O technology and share with our outside agencies to help improve response times for our emergency services to those incidents. Being able to help verify locations when a 911 call comes in and the person doesn't know if they're eastbound or westbound, or at the 200-mile marker or the 300-mile marker, and using that technology to share in an effort to get response to that incident. There's a lot of active traffic management that occurs here in District 5. It started out with freeways. A lot of states still do this. And I would say, almost argue, every state has some type of freeway traffic management program where they're actively monitoring their interstates and major thoroughfares. However, one of the things that we quickly learned in District 5 was you can't just focus on freeway operation, because ultimately whatever is happening off the freeway also impacts the freeway and vice versa. So one of the things that we do is we look at the arterial system, which is the roadways off the interstates, just as much as the roadways that are on the interstates from a traffic management standpoint. One of the things we also really tried to do is push out traveler information, either through the Florida 511 app, with our PIO office, working with other PIOs throughout the state or other agencies. Being able to push that direct information out is really critical. And then from a traffic incident management standpoint, we have our traffic incident management program. In our district, we have 4 TIM teams that meet on a quarterly basis, and we discuss what is going on out in their area and how we can all improve our coordinated response and different types of technology, either that is emerging or currently in practice, that we could take a look at implementing in our area. And then the kind of last part of our ICM program is that emergency management, is working with our emergency management directors throughout our region, either at the state office or at the county level, as well as internally with FDOT District 5. We try to be very data driven. And in fact, we use a lot of data to make our decisions on a day-to-day basis. We have a system called SunGuide, which is basically our CAD system. It's how we enter in calls for service, how we move our devices, such as our cameras, set our dynamic message signs on the interstate. It's also where our roadside detectors, all that data gets funneled into our SunGuide system, where we can then look at it from a interface standpoint and make key decisions based on that data that's being brought in. The other types of data that we are often bringing in is probe data, such as from the HERE system or looking at Google Maps or Waze, and using those third-party applications and bringing in detection data to our traffic incident management center. One of the kind of cool stories that we recently have done is we have recently brought in Waze alerts into our CAD system or into our SunGuide system. And there are several studies out there that talk about how Waze alerts have a possibility of bringing in, incident detection data a lot sooner, even sooner before the first 911 call. And while we were testing the data, we actually had an incident occur where a crash occurred. Our system got a Waze alert for a crash. We were able to locate it on camera. We called the local PSAP, and they did not actually even have the call yet. And we were able to provide them all the information from the camera system, letting them know that there was a crash out there that they needed to respond to. The other thing that we are ever evolving, looking at, is the use of AI, either to help us with data analytics, being able to analyze data, as well as using some of our current devices and detection that we have out on the system and seeing if there's anything we can do to streamline some of those detections. One of the AI projects we currently have going on is looking at our interstate freeway cameras, looking for crashes, disabled vehicles, pedestrians on the highway, slowdowns, low visibility, and basically alerting the dispatcher here at the RTMC that there is something going on and this is what we think it is, and having them verify that that is what is occurring and dispatching the appropriate resources. We try to ensure that we are very hyper-focused in the latest, greatest technology, and always looking ahead and ensuring that the data we're bringing in not only serves us, but also can be of possible use to our third-party agencies. So whether that's sharing, our cameras or other detectional devices with those outside agencies to help them in their mission, we are committed to. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my counterpart, Mr. Hudson, to talk about some of the equipment we have here at the district.
Thank you, Garrett. As Garrett's counterpart, I am the Traffic Incident Management Program Manager for the east side of the district. And we have several pieces of equipment that we have at our hands. We have nearly 1,800 cameras. Now, these are interstate cameras, arterial cameras, local streets. We have a lot of great partnerships with our local agencies, counties and cities, that we have access to their cameras as well, which broadens our view. We also have that little white box that you see pointing down at the roadway is a microwave detector. And what that does, it lets us know the average speeds of the roadway per lane. So as soon as it dips down below a threshold, an alert will actually go to an operator on the RTMC floor, and it's basically flashing on that map you saw for early on, hey, look at me, something's going on here, and we will verify whether there's an issue or not. We also have several of those big overhead signs that you see that are dynamic message signs, approximately about 500 blankout signs as well. These are both on our freeways and our arterial roadways, and are an invaluable tool to let motorists know that something is happening further up. So we're trying to reduce those secondary crashes, trying to keep our responders out of the road and keep them safe. We also have portable camera trailers. These are called smart work zone trailers. We've actually they were developed to keep our roadside workers safe, where it has an alarm, a siren on it, and if something were to encroach into the scene, it will alert them. What we've also used it for is wildfires. We've set up zones where if a vehicle has gone through a roadblock, it will alert some of the firefighters in the area and other responders. We've also used it for special events. We are very heavily involved with our local agencies on assisting them with special events. That includes MegaCon, Daytona 500, bowl games, space launches, which Artemis 2 is coming up. So we will definitely be out there watching that and assisting responders with that as well. So traffic incident management, what is it? It is the Federal Highway Administration defines traffic incident management as planned, coordinated process to detect and respond to and remove traffic incidents to restore traffic capacity as safely as quickly as possible. The goals of TIM, the benefit includes reducing incident-related congestion, improving response and clearance times, preventing those secondary crashes. That's one of our biggest goals is reduce those secondary crashes because our responders are not going to be in the road if we can reduce those. A lot of times these primary incidents, they could be just a piece of debris or a disabled vehicle. And I'll share some tools that we use to clear those as quickly as possible as well. And we're trying to improve the flow of traffic, air quality, decreasing economic impacts of the incidents. And again, we harp this improving responder and motorist safety. It's not a great feeling being on the side of the road with traffic passing you. So both Garrett and I have personal experience with that. So incident operations, plan coordinated process, detect, respond to, and remove traffic incidents as safely as possible. So our thought process is the earlier we can get that call, the sooner we can get our assets moving in that direction to keep our first responders safe. As you see in some of these pictures, as traffic congestion builds up, it's increasingly more difficult to get to the scene as well. So, as soon as we know about it, we're letting our road rangers know, our safety service patrol. We're trying to reach out to the PSAPs and say, hey, this is what you got. Sometimes it's in the wrong direction because we're dealing with a passing motorist that may have thought they were in that right direction. So the sooner we can get information out to our PSAPs as well, and we have several tools with that as well. Reducing the risk of secondary crashes. I know I sound like a broken record, but those are really, really bad incidents that can occur at the back end of a queue. So we're really trying to reduce those as much as possible. Promote responder safety. Florida open roads policy, safe, quick clearance. We have a policy here in Florida throughout the state with our first responders that we try to clear the road from white line or clear the road from at least onto the shoulder within 90 minutes of the first responding officer on scene. And we have several programs that help with that. Road Rangers, our rapid incident scene clearance, which I can get into in a little bit, and several other programs. We also have TIM specialists here through the week that are directly coordinating with our first responders and our operators. They're making the high level decisions on emergency response. Hey, do we need to pull a road ranger from a different zone? Do we need to get different assets rolling? Do we need to get a drone up in the air and stuff like that? So they do have a first responder background or an outside agency background. So they look at things just a hair differently and able to make those high level decisions. So one of our biggest assets that we deploy is our Road Ranger program. This is our safety service patrol. We do about 5,500 Road Ranger assists per month. And this can range from disabled vehicles, crashes, debris, somebody that just needs directions because we do have the house of mouse here, a wide variety of calls. They're typically a lot of times first on the scene because they're already out and about. So they are trained in CPR, first aid, and traffic control. So keeping everybody safe on the roadway. And you see the trucks there, they're built to push, pull, and drag. So these vehicles, I tell the guys that, hey, I want to see scratches, I want to see dents. As a former road ranger, you tried not to smile too much when you were pushing on some guy's Mercedes, but it was the fun part of the job. So um, uh, they are our primary first responders for DOT to get to the scene. Um, then we have our asset management. These are more of your longer term um, traffic control. So if we get that overturned semi, we get uh, a longer term incident that somebody needs to stay out on. They're bringing out more cones, more arrow boards. They're also repairing any damage to the roadway infrastructure or guardrails or bridges. So they are there to make the scene even safer for the first responders on the scene. And then we have our rapid incident scene clearance. This is our tow incentivized program. Typically, your towers are incentivized to stay out on the road as long as possible because they pay an hourly charge. Whereas we pay them a bonus to clear the road from white line to white line within 90 minutes, trying to keep that open roads policy. They to be qualified on that contract, they have to have certain pieces of equipment and they have to respond within 60 minutes and clear the road within 90. So that is one of our heavy duty. We've done planes, semis, tankers, all kinds of things. You name it, they've been out there for it. And then we have our safe tow because even a disabled vehicle on the side of the road is a hazard, and we don't like to leave people out on the side of the road as much as possible. So if you have that, you know, mom with three kids out on the side of the road, we want to make sure we get them into a safe place. So we're putting them um, into a gas station parking lot, something that is open where they can get facilities. It also allows us to not have to wait for law enforcement to do a tow. So if we have a vehicle that is blocking and say it's a semi, and they say they're mechanics coming from Miami, we can actually pick up that car or that truck, pull it off the interstate, and now we do free up that law enforcement asset that doesn't have to respond for a disabled vehicle now. Um, and as I spoke, special events, we do all kinds of special events around the district. We also do touch trucks. We do a lot of outreach with our road ranger crew, trying to make the public as aware as possible of that service. And then emergency response and support. Myself and Garrett do respond to major incidents where there needs to be that on-scene FDOT command where we can pull in extra assets as well and talk directly to incident commanders in the field and be right next to them while they're making those decisions. And then we have our emergency management. We have a little thing here in Florida called hurricanes every once in a while. They like to go right across our state. So we do coordinate with all of our emergency management partners, county EOCs, and response partners. We actually lock down here at the RTMC prior and after a storm to assist with the recovery process. We also assist with evacuation. We have something called emergency shoulder use. We don't use the naughty word contraflow anymore. We open up the either left or right shoulder, depending on where you are in the state, for vehicular traffic. We make sure it's clear, flip down some signs, make sure it's safe, and it does provide a extra lane for us to get everybody out. We execute emergency contracts. So we will actually, there's one called Emergency Roadside Assistance Service, and that's to supplement the road rangers. We will uh, bump up their staff and make sure that they have every truck available out there. But we will let the ERES contracts do the bulk of the tire changes, gas, and all that. So it frees up the road rangers to be able to clear the road. Then we have our TMC and our traffic incident management staff again here 24/7 during the time. Typically from the governor's office, we will do toll suspensions and then signal damage assessment teams where we will send out all kinds of people to make sure that our signals are still upright and see what the damage level is on them so we can make repairs as quickly as possible. And with that said, I will turn it back over to Mr. Popovich.
Thanks, Mike. So ultimately, when seconds count, and those seconds can mean life and death, when our local PSAPs are dispatching the appropriate response personnel to those calls, we really wanted to focus on how we can streamline communication between our PSAPs and our RTMC. So the first thing we looked at is data sharing. So what would be very easy to share? We wouldn't require agreements, or the data that we were sharing was public already. So one of the first things we started with was video sharing. So as Mike talked about, the amount of devices that we have in our district that is used to detect those incidents out on the roadway, we wanted to put it in the hands of our PSAPs. We have done that through multiple ways. Once again, we understand that all of our PSAPs have different levels of technology integration, different funding models. So we had to kind of customize, reuse here and there, change a little bit to work with our PSAPs with the data sharing when it comes to video. So one of the ways that we share video is through a system called MutualLink. MutualLink was started a long time ago with that video direct sharing, where we can essentially share our screen with the camera footage to those PSAPs. Fast forward a little bit, and we wanted to make it a little bit more easier for our PSAPs. We understood that some of our PSAPs had video walls and wanted to see the cameras. So we essentially created hot links for our centers to be able to view cameras that were related to them. So they can go in and they don't have to look at, for example, in Marion County, you don't have to watch cameras that are in Orange County, and you're able to see the incidents that are going on within your county, within those devices. The other part of the process has kind of been direct communication, either through networking, depending on the PSAP, that is either done through the county's traffic engineering department or directly through the PSAP, and being able to get more direct, high-speed communication data to those centers. That way we can have some more direct connection. And one of the things we have done is that CAD to CAD interface. We have essentially a secured listener that can integrate with any PSAP, or I should say we haven't found a CAD system that we haven't been able to integrate with. And essentially that allows us, as the call takers put in the call, a bunch of bells and whistles go off on the operations floor, letting an operator know that a 911 call has been put in a certain location, and some details about that 911 call. They're able to use those devices, whether it be cameras, detectors, other data, and they're trying to validate that call for service. If they find it on camera and they can provide anything that would be of value to that PSAP, such as, hey, we see you going out to I-75 at the 350, but you guys have the call in as northbound. If you're responding to the white truck overturned on its side with an ejection, that's actually going to be on the southbound side. And that call happens within a minute or two of that alert coming in. Depending on where we are at, that could totally change the call card. That could change which agencies are responding. So being able to provide that quick communication directly is really critical. We also really pride ourselves in with this open communication or dialogue with our PSAP directors or our communication managers. We want to be able to hear their concerns, or I don't want to say complaints, but really, any negative feedback or positive feedback that they have on how FDOT can improve their operations. Because oftentimes we have a lot of data or a lot of technology that we are not the 911 experts on, but hearing some of their struggles and hearing some of their concerns, we've been able to build custom off-the-shelf applications to get that direct communication. One of the concerns that we actually heard from our fire personnel that kind of helped push integration was the need for kind of a mass call or a mass communication system. We started out with another application, and then recently have integrated to ReadyOut for anyone that has heard of that company. And basically, you can see an example on the right where we're able now, an agency can subscribe to as many people as they would like. If they would like their entire agency to receive these alerts, they can. If they want certain, individuals, key decision makers, they can subscribe. And we're able to send critical information out to them with a push of a button. And that helps with not only the response to the incident, but it also helps with the surrounding response. Oftentimes when we shut down the interstate, it's not oftentimes, the local roads cannot handle the traffic that the interstate is designed to handle. And so when we shut down the interstate, those local communities get impacted. Well, for example, in Ocala, where you have a trauma center, knowing that suddenly you're going to have a lot more traffic and your response time on a certain roadway might be hindered because the interstate is shut down. That's critical information for agencies to push out to their team, whether it be on the EMS, fire side, law enforcement side. That might mean the difference between calling for a helicopter versus doing a ground transport, because typically a ground transport might only take 15 minutes, but if we have another incident going on, that could be an hour. So being able to have that open communication and dialogue and ever changing in today's world. The other thing we do is training. So we have the National Traffic Incident Management Program safety training, or it was referred to as SHARP 2. That training program we give for free to all of our first responder community, sponsored by FDOT, essentially. And with all that being said, we do encourage actually our PSAPs to be involved in that training. We actually hosted a training at Marion County. Marion County had several dispatchers in the room for that training. And it allows us all to get together and understand kind of why FDOT might be calling to ask for certain things, or for them to share experiences, so we can go back and look at, is there any tools or technology or resources we can use, as well as fire rescue and law enforcement. So we do offer that training with our PSAPs. And as we look forward, some of the pieces of technology that we are implementing, for the last one, actually, the wrong way driving, I wouldn't say almost it's a look forward. It's we're at the finish line. The state of Florida has a very aggressive goal in outfitting all of our interstate ramps with wrong way driving detection that actually report back to the RTMC. So anytime we get a wrong way driving alert, bunch of alarms go off, and if we can validate that it's a wrong way driver, we have a response plan in place, and a part of that response plan is notifying those PSAPs. One of the things that we are looking forward to advancing more than just the ramp when it comes to wrong way driving is the main line. So using some of our cameras that are already out on the interstates, using some of our detection devices, our microwave video detection, to detect wrong way driving as well, to try to really encompass that wrong way driving alert and being able to get resources out to stop that wrong way driver. The other thing that we are pushing for is our emergency vehicle preemption software. So one of the things that we have done in our district, there are third-party off-the-shelf EVP or emergency vehicle preemption softwares that you can buy, that agencies can purchase. We worked very closely with Seminole County Fire Rescue. They were looking at some companies, and we said we might be able to actually do this for you, and you won't have to purchase the software, which is a huge cost savings initiative to that agency. It also allows us to be good partners and stewards of the technology and infrastructure that we have, either that is owned by the state or the municipality, and being able to provide that service for our emergency partners. Like I said, there are third-party softwares out there. They are somewhat costly. So for an agency hearing that you're going to spend several $1 million on an EVP software and then being told that it's actually free, obviously that money can then be turned around and used elsewhere. while also making sure that we can get our first responders to that incident scene quicker. And then ever expanding our connectivity and communications. We are always looking for new ways that we can communicate with our first responders, provide them the tools and data and information that they need to make their job easier. And we're always looking to expand that every day. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa from Marion County.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As stated, I'm Lisa Cahill with Marion County Public Safety, and our county is centrally located within the state of Florida. One of our little fun facts that we like to say is our county is bigger than the state of Rhode Island. The slide says we have citizens of approximately 350,000, but we did recently learn it's a little over 428,000 as of the middle of 2024. And we have 1.4 million visitors that come to our county every year. So it does create a lot of traffic on our roadways. Our call volume is 685,969 calls, and that's broken down by 911 calls. 90% of our calls need to be answered in under 10 seconds. And that's basically mandated by the state of Florida. Our incoming calls for 911 is 146,604 calls. Our incoming admin calls, a little over 300,000, and outgoing is approximately 236,000. Our outgoing calls consist of callbacks, calls to other agencies, and things like that. As has been mentioned in the previous conversations, I-75 traffic has been challenging at best some days, but the collaboration that we have helps to ensure efficient response from our first responders. And as Garrett mentioned, the meetings and the feedback, everybody has been very responsive in trying to ensure that we have the best possible response for any emergency situation or to assist in mitigating any traffic concerns that may be reported or that may develop. As most of you know, we do have a bridge on I-75 that has been impacted a few times, which creates traffic on the alternate roads. The next information that I have here is from the Florida Highway Patrol. The traffic crashes in Marion County. We had approximately 6,300 traffic crashes in 2025. Marion County as a whole does not respond to traffic accidents. The city of Ocala responds for traffic accidents, and the city of Bellevue. Florida Highway Patrol works our traffic accidents. We had a total of 78 fatal crashes, and fatalities from those crashes were 80, which is actually down from 2024, I believe. Anyway, so we appreciate the collaboration. One of the things I know, the feedback that I get from our dispatchers is with the cameras that are on the interstate, being very responsive to any requests. Sometimes when we have a caller, they don't necessarily know where they're at, but based on the angle of the camera, that can help us determine if they're in the northbound lane, the southbound lane when it comes to I-75, if they're north or south of a particular exit, which does help our first responders when they're responding to make sure that they're entering from the best way to help reduce the response time. And that's all I have. Thank you.
There's something we can purchase with them. But he said there were.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. We do have some questions that I think we have a little bit of time to get to today. We have a lot that were on interoperability that were asked before. I think we really kind of answered some of them. So let me jump around a little bit here and see if we can get as many of these answered as we can. So First question is, are you guys doing any discussion or research on using drones as DFR drones as first responders for either the TMC or the 911 center as far as verifying these incidents?
Yes, we have looked into that. I failed to mention that we have a drone team here at the RTMC ready to deploy. Myself and Garrett both have a drone on our trucks ready to go. And we've utilized them for several incidents. We currently do not have a DFR drone here where it's stationed here and automatically can lift off. We have looked into it and possibly sharing that with agencies, but it's come down to a funding mechanism at that point. But we do offer that drone for mutual aid. It doesn't necessarily have to be a traffic related incident. We've used it for search and rescues. We have a couple people here that are trained on that as well. So the drone has become a very easy way to get eyes on something that we don't have a camera. I said we have 1,800 cameras, but inevitably there might be an overpass in the way or it's in the middle of nowhere. So we are utilizing drones pretty heavily in this district.
Great. So, does FDOT employ any wrong way driver detection and notification? And I think that we already kind of got the answer that there was some of that is a yes. But this question then goes on to say, how is it integrated with 911? Which for me is a talking point I've been working at with incident management detection, and is that if we're seeing this incident detection, are we sharing it live to 911 or is it just coming into the TMC? So if you could start with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we have begun to integrate our wrong way driving detection into our third-party centers. We've started kind of with the state law enforcement centers. So right now there is an application that law enforcement can have that allows them to essentially, when we get an alert on the floor, they're also getting the alert in that application so they can share that. We're looking to expand that application outside of just our state agencies to local county and city municipalities. One of the big things that we've heard from some of our agencies, though, is they don't want to monitor another application. They feel like their dispatchers are all already monitoring something new, you know what I mean, and being overtasked with more and more things to monitor. So one of the things we are looking at is in our district, looking at CAD providers and seeing the possibility of paying the cost to integrate with our PSAPs providers. We're still trying to figure out if we want to do one or two, or if it makes more sense to start out with a certain provider, but being able to essentially auto-generate a call for service. That way those dispatchers would see the call pop up on their screen, wrong way driver, and it would auto be geolocated to that location. That way they already have the information that's been essentially transmitted to them in a secure manner that they can immediately put out to their units. So that's something that we are really interested in trying to help, because we hear the concerns from our PSAPs that they don't want to monitor. They want the information, but their dispatchers are already monitoring, a lot of applications.
And one of the things that we are doing in our district, I'll add on to that, is because we are co-located with Florida Highway Patrol, they are able to get on the radio. We have Intercity here, which is a radio channel that most agencies in our direct area monitor, and they're able to hear the alert as it goes off in the TMC. We are verifying it, and within seconds, they are putting that over the air to every police agency throughout the Central Florida area.
That's great. So one of the questions that we have is, were there any legal barriers needed to overcome that PSAP integration between the TMC and the 911 centers? So what we're looking for, there is, I believe you said that it was passed both ways. The TMC is seeing 911 data and the 911 is seeing TMC, or could you clarify and then answer about the legal?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big struggles, so for DOT, we have a system that is a secure listener. A lot of applications, and this listener can be done through like email, text. So a lot of CAD systems have that ability to send information out. So essentially, our CAD system here at FDOT gets that information. For an FHP standpoint, we have direct CAD to CAD. However, for our outside non-state agencies, we're getting information. We have had agencies be interested in receiving information for us. And that is something that we have gone down the road. However, what oftentimes is a hurdle is the CAD providers want to charge a large amount of money to integrate a third-party application. And because every state has a different, DOT CAD system, they're looking at it not as a benefit, a sales pitch. They want the dollar signs, unfortunately, behind it. So that's oftentimes what's been the stopgap between it is we've been willing to share it, but unfortunately, those PSAPs would have to go to their CAD providers and have to pay for that enhancement, which was not a cheap, ask. That's why, to the previous wrong-way driving thing, we as a district are looking at kind of possibly what the cost might be to pay that and what the cost benefits are for that. And then,
and I think that's,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so if I understood you correct, when you're talking about, like the CAD, you're like in listen mode from your PSAP's CADs. I think what you're saying is the PSAP CAD then is sending it out as the same way they would use other notification devices. So, in a more generic outbound, what we used to call texting, or like sending a message out from a CAD, but I know it would be the same interface that CADs would use to interface to like, e-call or for, I am responding or any of those active 911 kind of notification platforms that would normally do it. You're just a recipient of those notifications, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. That makes sense. Great. So I think we talked about wrong way driving. The last questions we've got is a really interesting topic for me, but we only have like 2 minutes left. But are you doing anything on the connected vehicle data front? Meaning that in a true connected vehicle world, the vehicles have cameras inside them. They have other vehicle data that, we want to get to the 911 through like automatic crash notification and other technologies. But are you as a DOT sort of working to get any of that connected vehicle? You had mentioned Waze integrations, which is, from the driver, not the car mostly, but what else are you doing?
So yeah, in our district, we have a very expansive connected vehicle deployment with roadside units. One of our biggest struggles, which I think would be echoed across the US, is there's not kind of this standard when we haven't had this clear investment by the manufacturers to send data essentially back to us. Which is kind of the biggest struggle right now when it comes to connected or autonomous driving vehicles. We, as a district, are looking to see if there's other examples or other ways or mechanisms that we can use to get this data, whether that be through the OEMs themselves, through another source, or looking at probe data for like hard braking from drivers and stuff like that. But unfortunately, because there hasn't been a clear agreement by the OEMs to say, okay, we're going to put these devices in the vehicle, it's kind of, we're looking for other solutions.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Again, this concludes today's State of the 911 webinar. I want to thank all of our speakers from Florida Department of Transportation and Marion County Public Safety Communications. You are able to access previous recordings or learn more about NHTSA's National 911 Program State of the 911 webinar series by visiting 911.gov. Also important to note is we dropped 2 important links into the chat. The first was for traffic incident management training, free online training available through the Federal Highway department here at Department of Transportation, and also the Safer Streets for All grant, which we're expecting to have our notice of funding opportunities to open up in March of this year, 2026, for the final year of funding. So please check that out. And again, we appreciate your attendance and everyone's participation. Have a great day.